voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve.
Well, I took 2 tests.
David, the top line here appears to be a win for former President Trump in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court writing that under our constitutional structure of separated powers, the nature of presidential power entitles a former president to absolute immunity.
It's really interesting that the Supreme Court in 248 years of our history has never actually ruled on this. So
$100 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money.
You know, perhaps this chart could
I really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
This morning, the FBI is naming the suspected shooter as Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20 years old, from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, south of Pittsburgh. The FBI saying this remains an active and ongoing investigation.
President Biden's family reacting to his decision to leave the race tonight.
Kamala Harris is the frontrunner to win the Democratic presidential nomination after President Biden officially dropped out of the race yesterday.
When I was in France, I lived there for 6 months. I had the privilege to do so. And I lived with a French family, and I got their perspective. And I met many different people who had lived through it on French soil. And if you know anything about World War II, France was not untouched by the war. And I lived in Caen, which was on the opposite side of Normandy. Normandy is on the north, Caen is on the south. It's in the Mediterranean. And my French father, who was a chef, the dude was amazing, would wake up at 5 a.m. to cook dinner. And he didn't speak a whole lot to me. I don't know if he liked me. But there was one thing that he did tell me, and he said that when he was 9, I think he said when he was 9, and he was experiencing la guerre, the war in French. I'm sorry if my French is awful, it probably is. But he said that when he was 9, some Nazis kicked him down and took his bike. And when you're 9, your bike is your world. And to me, like, what the fuck are people that age messing around with like a 9-year-old kid on a bike? Like, even if you're a soldier, like, why the fuck would you even bother? Like, to me, it sounds like not even a real story. You know what I mean? That sounds like one of those, like, written, let's establish why Nazis are evil, like, and give them no character type story. But here he is telling me about Nazis beating him up, kicking him down, and taking his bike. Well, he said he didn't see those Nazis ever again. And then he said, soon after, the Americans came. And he said it was like, I forget what he said. He said it was like relief. Like a deep relief. and they were stationed in Cannes. They had like a big military ship that was stationed in the bay, in the harbor. And I couldn't believe what I was listening to, honestly. I mean, you just hear these stories, but when you're a kid and you feel this kind of sense of relief, that is strange. Because when I was a kid, all I felt was excitement for the next day, excitement for the day ahead. And that was because of people like him, or my grandparents, and that was where my true sense of patriotism came from. There is something to be said about where I feel like we're all feeling a little out of control. I'm going to go ahead and say it's not all bad. And we must think that way. So these photos are meant to be just shown in contrast to the cynicism that I have for not just America, but contemporary events. This is just meant to be a symbol of the fact that I can still have the freedom to take photos, and have the freedom to, and maybe not for very long, but have the freedom to comment and to have the speech that I have currently. And these photos are meant to be a juxtaposition to the thinning out of the parades I see, because less and less it's about the community, and more it's about picking a political side. But if for nothing else, it's meant to be a reminder for the good times that we have, especially when we can all come together and sit down and actually celebrate something that is worth celebrating, because freedom of expression is just as important as celebrating it. And I think that's worth it, and I think that's special.